All right, so as we said before, to get jQuery, again, go look for it. For jQuery, Google API, libraries, Google developers. Okay, there is a jQuery library coming from Google. Copy paste this code and put it into your HTML. Now, if you do not add HTTP, if you just paste it the way it comes from Google, for example, like this will not work locally. This means that it will execute, if it's online, it will work. It will just go ahead and look for this URL online. But if it's local, there is no protocol. So we're not telling the file to go look for it outside, right? So we have to say HTTP, and like this, it will work locally in our computer. Okay. So sometimes if you ever find like why it's not working, it's because you forgot to add HTTP. Okay. Make sure that your JavaScript functions that you will add after, they are inserted after jQuery, not before. If you put them before, it's not going to work. For example, yeah, has to go after jQuery. So, for example, I want to create a little division here. Hello. Okay. And in my functions, let me give an ID to it. ID hello. Please copy this code for now. I'm going to explain you why it works, what it means. Basically, what the code is saying is that when I click on the element hello with ID hello, on click, execute a function which will alert the inner HTML. That's what it means. So whatever is inside the division hello, the division with ID hello, will be alerted. Okay? So I want to get back to this file just for now. I'm going to run. On click, nothing. No. Okay. So this is not working because, again, same thing over and over. I am trying to execute something at line 3 of my functions, which is coming into play at line 8 of my HTML. At line 8, the ID hello does not exist yet. So let's try something very fast, like window.onload equals function, and then the whole jQuery. Okay, what I want to show here is why the order of your libraries or your files do affect how it's going to work. So I'm going to wait for a document to load, and then on click to the element with ID hello, I'm going to alert its content. So let's see. Come here, refresh. So what is the content of the element with ID hello? It's not hello world. It's actually h1 hello world h1, right? And that's what I have. Okay. Now, if I change the source of my functions and I put it on top of jQuery, it might work because I have window on load. Right? But if I have to use some other kind of jQuery, for example, if I change, I'm going to change the window on load for the jQuery format, which is document.ready. Okay. There we start having problems. Why? And it's going to tell me that the function dollar is not defined. You see, reference error dollar is not defined. Why it's not defined? Well, because I am trying to execute jQuery before it's even loaded. So make sure that your functions are after jQuery. So jQuery is actually loaded, it's actually defined, and then it can be used. Okay, very important. Now, let's get back to the syntax. So what we had here before was window.onload equals function, and then I have an ID on click, execute a function. Okay. Before going there, let's start by the very, very basics. Let's start by saying document, for example, I'm going to take a variable content equals to document dot get element by ID. The ID is hello. Dot inner HTML. Right? We know what this means. It means that I'm going to take whatever is inside hello. The equivalent for this in jQuery then would be, for example, variable content equals then document get element by ID. I just have to create a selector just like CSS. In CSS, for an ID, we use the number sign and the name of the ID. Right? So this little line here means document.getElementById and hello. So select the ID hello. Okay? Now, inner HTML, we're going to use the method .html. Now, different to regular JavaScript methods, these methods, they are actually functions as well. So they open and they close parentheses, rounded brackets. Why? Because sometimes, or most of the times, we're going to be able to add parameters inside. Okay? So, these two are equivalent. Now let's see. Alert content. We're going to start by using the JavaScript format. There you go, right? So it says window.onload equals function. When the document is loaded, when the window is loaded, alert the content of the element with ID hello. And that's exactly what it's doing. Now let's try the jQuery version. And both are giving me exactly the same. Okay? Now, with JavaScript, if I want to change the content of an element, for example, document.getElementById hello.innerHTML, I would have to then say equals to something. So I'm going to change it to how are you? So the element with ID hello, this one here, will now be how are you? Not even with h1. I'm going to get rid of the h1. Just all of these will be gone to say how are you? Okay? So let's see. Save. Refresh. How are you? I want to include my h1s. No problem. h1. Open, close h1. And there you go. So in jQuery, again, I have to select my element. Hello. Then .html. But instead of saying equals to something, it takes it as a parameter. So I'm going to put it inside the parenthesis what I want to insert. So let's see. Same result. Okay. So now, if I want to insert into an HTML element, if I want to insert HTML into an element, then just .html, and inside I'm going to put what I want. So basically, when we do not put anything inside, the expression will return the contents, right? Here it's returning the content of the division hello, and we're saving it inside content. When we actually put something inside, we change the value. As simple as that. Okay? Now, if you remember, in HTML, if we want to concatenate content, right, to keep on adding, it was plus equal. I'm going to comment this. So now I'm going to plus equal an h2 saying how are you. So I should be able to see hello world, how are you underneath, because I am adding. I'm not replacing anymore, I am adding. There you go, right? Well, with jQuery, instead of plus equal, obviously we don't have a plus equal here because there is no signs. There is another method called append. So append is like saying plus equal, inner HTML plus equal. I'm appending, I'm adding to it. There you go. Oh, I didn't change the h2s, sorry. Yeah? So by appending, it means to concatenate content. So before we used to do innerHTML plus equal, and we will add to the element with ID hello, we would add this content. Now it's with append, I add the content. And there is another one, right? Append is always going to add at the end. It will keep on adding to the end of it. But what if I want to add before everything, at the beginning, right? So there is another one called Prepend, which we didn't have before in, we didn't have before. I'm missing something here. Which we didn't have before in HTML, in JavaScript. So now prepend. Let's add, for example, the date. So today is April 9th or 8th? 9th, 2013. Okay, so append will add after, prepend will add before, which was not a possibility before, right? Before we could only just concatenate add after. So let's see now. So I'm prepending the date, and I am appending how are you. Before everything is prepend, append is after the content. Yeah, in this case I just added a division, some text, prepended. To whom? To the ID hello. Okay? Now, now the same way we can select things in CSS, we can select things in jQuery. So basically, to select, for example, a tag, just as in jQuery, we just put the tag name, right? So this is to select a tag. To select an ID, well, we saw that, is the element $, the ID name. Correct? To select a class, well, same thing as in CSS, dot the class name. All right. So now, for example, I'm going to add a few divisions here. With class square. So they all have the same class, right? So now I can select them all. By calling their ID, so dot square. And let's say that I want to change their CSS to all of them, right? At a certain moment, I want to change their CSS. So dot CSS. Open, close. And then the parameter we're going to put inside for the CSS could be one at a time. For example, one style at a time. Let's say I'm going to give them border, comma, 1 pixel solid red. Right? Yeah, so the first parameter would be the style name, second parameter, the value. It has to be in the right order, yes. Just gonna put some content here so we can actually see something. Okay. There they are. Now, okay, so remember before, to do something like that, first of all, to do something like this in JavaScript, we're supposed to create a variable, for example, my squares equals to document dot get elements, get element by class name, or get elements by, I don't even remember. So yeah, so get elements by tag name, right? I'm gonna have to look for the tag name, not tag name, sorry, class name. Get element by class. Oops. Okay, get elements by class name. Then we put the class name, for example, square. No dot, obviously. This will give us a bunch of elements in an array. Then we will have to loop for each one of them. For I equals 0, while I is smaller than my squares dot length, I plus plus, and then each one of them, my squares position I dot style dot border equals to 1 pixel solid red. Right? So all of these, you just 1, 2, 3, 4 lines is equivalent to one little line of jQuery. So let's see. I'm gonna comment first my jQuery. Try to see if my JavaScript works. Hopefully it will work. There you go. It works. Everything is red. Now I'm gonna comment all of this and leave my jQuery alone, which says all the elements with class square change their CSS. Internally, the jQuery library internally is doing this for us. We don't have to code that anymore, right? Same result. Okay? Now, what if I wanted to change, for example, more styles? Right? So I'm going to comment away again jQuery. Come back to JavaScript. Let's say that I also want to change the padding. right? Padding for 10 pixels. I want to change the color of the font also to red. Yeah, and maybe the margin too. So margin 5 pixels. Okay, let's stop there. You know what? Just the width. Okay. Right, so that was JavaScript. A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, with jQuery, we're going to use something, a format called JSON. So what JSON is that inside our parameters, we add a curly bracket, open, and we close at the end. Curly brackets. That is telling the program, that is telling JavaScript, this is JSON. JSON, like this. And then we can just add all bunch of styles, like if we were in CSS. Right? Border 1 pixel solid red. Instead of semicolons, comma. Padding 10 pixels. Margin 5 pixels. Now notice how the value of each style has to be between quotes. We have no option. That must be. Okay? But the styling doesn't have to be between quotes. It's better if you put quotes. Why? Because there is some stylings, for example, text align. Okay? Text align has a dash in the middle, which thinks that it's a minus. And since we are inside JavaScript, it will think that it's text minus align, which is not. It's text align. So if you put everything as a string, it understands that it is text align. Right? So it's better if you actually put quotes all the time. That's it, no problem. So text align center, comma, what else we have? Border, padding, margin, the width. And the color. Okay? Now, the importance about JSON is that you always put comma between each style. Okay? And not a semicolon, a comma. And the last one, you do not have to put a comma. I'm going to save it and now try the jQuery version. There you go. Same thing. I just added the text align center, right? So this is called the JSON format. Okay? Now, the last thing we're going to see now as an introduction to jQuery, well, we understand, right, that we need to wait for the document to load so we can actually start interacting with the elements. If the document is not loaded, JavaScript cannot find them. The DOM is not created yet, right, the document object model. So we have to wait for the whole thing to load. That's why we have window.onload equals functions opens and closes all the way to the end. and all my jQuery is inside. When you use jQuery and you're going to start interacting with elements, yes, put everything inside window.onload. Right? Now, instead of window.onload, there is a jQuery version as well. This one might be a bit more complicated. But it's important for us to learn it, because all the other methods that we're going to see, they actually have the same format. We can put functions inside the parameters. For example, let's say that I have a function, some function. Right? And I have another function, function2. We all know that we can put parameters in here, right? Parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. So far this is a syntax that we'll understand. But what if I tell you that inside a parameter you can actually declare a function? So look at this. I'm going to pass as a parameter a function.
So you define the function and the function.
Right? And then inside the parameter, I have a bunch of open and closing brackets. So let's say that this is some function, and inside has another function. This some function 2, I'm going to take it out again for 1 second. Put it here. Let's say that some function 2 is going to alert. Hello. Right? So, if I put inside the parameter the function 2, it will look something like function 2, open close curly brackets. This one here, open close. I'm going to open close here. And between the curly brackets, I have alert. So between the curly brackets, I have alert. Okay? This syntax, you're going to see it over and over and over in jQuery. This happens all the time. You're always going to see curly brackets closing together with parentheses, with rounded brackets, all the time. And the reason is because they are putting through the parameter a function. Okay? So now, following this example of my created function here, crazy function that doesn't do anything, let's study how window.onload works with jQuery. So window.onload, we are going to select the document. And the same way we have .append, .html, .prepend, etc., we have .ready. And what .ready is going to do is to wait for any element to be loaded. For example, if you want to wait for a very big image to be loaded, you select the image .ready. It's going to wait for the image to load. Right? If you put for whatever it is, a video, something, .ready, when that thing is loaded, start what? Start a function. So when the document is ready, start a function. Open, close, open, close. So when the document is ready, execute a function. And the function is inside the parameters of the ready method. So now window.onload is not needed here anymore. I have document ready, and document ready is supposed to close. I'm going to take this and bring it all the way till the end, right here. I'm going to comment the one from my previous one, which used to be the one of, this is the one for window, end of window dot unload, which is it's commented now. Yeah. So this is the way we do document ready, and that's the way we're going to do many things. For example, dot click. What am I going to do on click? Execute a function, right?
So
Dot click, and we put a function inside.
makes so much sense.
Right? So this is the equivalent of window.unload equals function. So let's see, refresh. Perfect, and everything works. Okay? Actually, this one could also be not commented. All right. So I'm gonna add this to the folder and to the other video, so you can